Top 5 underrated Dragon Ball games. This video, I'm going to be going over 5 Dragon Ball games that I deem to be underrated. With that being said, let's get into it. The first game is Dragon Ball Z Legendary Super Warriors. This game dropped back in 2001. This game dropped back in 2002. After the Game Boy Advance dropped, this was a Game Boy Color game. Despite that, this featured the story of Dragon Ball Z from the start to the end of the series. It featured it in 30 stories, and at various points you could control Gohan on the map and find things on the map. This game had over 28 playable characters who also, some of them had forms. You could update and get these characters levels from up to 5 with customized stats. The game was mostly underrated in my opinion because it was a Game Boy Advance, a big Game Boy Color game, thus inferior to the Game Boy Advance games. However, despite that, this game was a grind fest in a good way. It wasn't exactly easy and it took strategy. It was a game that was fun to play because you felt rewarded when you won and it had replayability. The second underrated Dragon Ball game on the list is Dragon Ball Advance Adventure. This is one of the best Dragon Ball games on Game Boy Advance because it's the only Dragon Ball game on Game Boy Advance, and it was mostly overlooked because it's Dragon Ball. The game dropped back in 2004 in Japan, and while the DS was around that release date, it still supported Game Boy Advance games, so Dragon Ball Advance Adventure was not going to suffer because of that. This particular game was published by Atari and band Presto. The game went from the start of Dragon Ball until the end of the Demon King Piccolo saga or arc. It didn't feature the Piccolo Jr. saga arc, unfortunately. However, it had 16 levels. After you completed the game, you had an extra mode unlock, which you could play as any of the playable characters that were permitted for this mode. You could unlock more playable characters via collecting items behind red doors that opened up in the levels after you went into extra mode. The game promoted huge amounts of replayability, had a lot of playable characters, and had you explore the actual area. And this is fun. The game had 3 different level types: Platform, Sky, Section 101. Now, despite the amount of content this game had, it only managed to sell around 152k in Japan. What makes this game underrated is because it's Dragon Ball, and a lot of people kind of slept on Dragon Ball while bigged up Dragon Ball Z. Just look at most of the games that came out. They're all Dragon Ball Z games, with a small minority being Dragon Ball games. And thus it's the less popular of the series. However, it's underrated because it's fun. The third underrated game for Dragon Ball games is Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1. This game was released in 2002 and 2003 for the PS2 and GameCube respectively. It was published by Bandai and Atari. This was one of my most played Dragon Ball games, and this game started from the start of the Dragon Ball Z saga to the Cell saga. This game had mini games at some point, such as the Special Beam Cannon mini game or even the Charge Up. This game also featured one of the hardest battles in history. The Frieza battle was annoying and the Cell battle was annoying. You know what I'm talking about. Aside from the story, the game offered replayability through its story, which had you go through a second time and get the full completion of the story. It featured the World Tournament mode. It also had a mode called Legend of Hercule. You could buy items and customize your characters, and even collect all 7 Dragon Balls via the item shop by buying the Dragon Balls in there and getting a breakthrough for your character. In my opinion, this was a decent game for a fighting game for Dragon Ball after the mess that was Final Bout. This game featured over 23 playable characters, some could transform. The battle system was very underrated, though it wasn't exactly balanced. It did have some move cancel capabilities. This game managed to sell over 543k on the PS2 in Japan, and it sold over 2.04 million copies in the US. What made this game underrated was that the limited amount of characters really made you think, wow, it's not a lot. The anime is further along. Where's Super Saiyan 2 Gohan? Where's Super Saiyan 3? Where's all this stuff? Yet, despite that, the game was still fun and it did great for what little it worked for. There was a lot of replayability, though ultimately this game is slept on because the other games in the series, Budokai 2, Budokai 3, just are much better. Number 4, Dragon Ball GT Transformation. One of those games that I wish was done differently. The game dropped back in 2005, and this game was developed by Webfoot. Webfoot developed majority, if not a lot, of the Dragon Ball Game Boy Advance games. It was published by Atari, and around the time this game dropped, we already had games like Taiketsu, Boost Furies, like I said, and you would assume that this game was going to be like Boost Fury, and it was a beat 'em up. It did feature a lot of grinding and a lot of replayability to unlock particular things. It was Grindfest. You had to unlock characters with Zenny, you had to unlock game modes with Zenny, and in some ways, this could make the game feel sluggish. It had a learning curve to know the combos, and defeating the bosses, unless you were using super attack spam, was actually annoying. Gameplay, however, was fun, and what makes this game underrated in my opinion is that people did not like GT. People did not like GT, and thus they crap on the series. Now, the other thing that you would probably think makes it underrated is the gameplay. Gameplay was advanced, though again, if you couldn't be bothered to learn that, you probably got bored with the game because you were doing the same combo and the same things. Despite all that, the game should have gotten a sequel, though they canceled it because of the lukewarm response to this game. Though when I tell you GT Transformation is a good beat 'em up, which is why I believe it's underrated. Now for the last game on the list, this is Dragon Ball Zenkai Battle. Now this game was initially called Dragon Ball Z Zenkai Battle Royale, and thus was changed to just Zenkai Battle later on. This was a Japanese only arcade game released back in 2011, and I did not play it because I don't live in Japan. I can tell you however that based off of the gameplay that we see of this game, it is utilizing a similar battle system from the Dragon Ball Z Tag Team Battle and another Spike Chunsoft game like Budokai Tenkaichi. This game featured single player, 2-player, and it looked fun. I can only assume that it was decently popular because it was in arcades for a while. I mainly call this game underrated because despite the longevity that it managed to survive in arcades, it was never ported over here. And in fact, in these times, it wasn't exactly popular for us to get ports of games if it was Japanese only, with some exceptions happening later on. With that all said, that's going to be my top 5 underrated Dragon Ball games video. If you guys have anything you want to add, maybe you have a top 5 underrated games, let me know, and I'll be doing a top 5 best Dragon Ball games video soon. I'm Kai, aka Kai Soul, and I'll catch you guys later.